I love Transformers, but I also love building model kits. So when I heard that Flame Toys were putting together a Transformers themed model kit, I knew I had to get it. And here it is, the Optimus Prime Transformers model kit. Now, I'm pretty excited to see what this is all about because it's not a Bandai-based kit, so it's always fun to see when someone else tries to go up against the Bandai giants and figure what it's all about. I thought I'd also take this opportunity because I've had many requests to show everyone how I build a model kit, so I'm going to take you from the very beginnings, from off the runner, full assembly, paint to plastic, and all the finishing touches in between. Let's get to it. Alright, so the number one thing I like to do when you first start building a model kit is pretty obvious stuff. Open it up, make sure that everything is in the box. Make sure that it's all here. Once everything is accounted for, the next thing is, I would say, is just to check the instruction booklet just to make sure that there's anything that you might foresee as a potential issue. Admittedly, I'm super guilty of just jumping right in, but I'm glad I looked at this because the instructions, and I already don't like it, despite them being in full color, the stickers are not actually shown anywhere on these instructions. They just list them as, I believe, S dash a number, and then you're just supposed to assume that the sticker sheet correlates with that. So not really a fan of that already, but otherwise that's all you need to do about initial inspection. All right, with those two basic checks out of the way, we can finally start building the kit, and all you need in terms of tools to put together a snap kit is a really good set of nippers. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. You can get fancy. You can pick up some really expensive nippers. You can also add a hobby knife. You can add sandpaper, whatnot. But if you just want to build the kit, all you need is a set of good quality nippers. These ones are from Gundam Planet. I've had them for a while. They're a bit beat up, but they still cut pretty decently. A little bit of nicks here and there. Probably could replace them, but they'll do for now. And all you gotta do is pick up a piece of plastic and just start cutting away. Now, what I like to do is not cut right up to the plastic. I just cut off the stems. That's all I do. And then from here on, I just trim away the excess very, very carefully. I try not to get too close, and I just cut them pretty quickly. So nothing too crazy. You can tell that I'm not very careful. I kind of don't care in terms of my accuracy with this kind of stuff. For me, I tend to build with speed, so it's not necessarily, don't look to me for expert advice on how to properly cut out these pieces. So I've cut out the 3 pieces to step 1, and all we got to do now is just put these ones together. And it's probably the most satisfying part of building the kit. It's when you see stuff come together. And there you have it. That is the chest of Optimus Prime. I'm going to go ahead and finish the kit following these same basic steps, and I'll see you with a completed model. Okay, so I have built the kit. Here he is, Optimus Prime. Everything seems well. It seems like a pretty simple build. But as you'll notice, the one thing I didn't do at all was I didn't add any of the stickers. Now, that's not to say I'm not going to use the stickers. It's just I wanted to make sure that I saw what this kit looked like without it first, and then I can adjust and use whatever I feel is necessary. So for sure, I'm going to use the faction symbols that go on the shoulders, and that's probably some of the few stickers I'm going to use. I'm also going to use, I guess, for the axe, I will use these large red pieces just because I don't really have metallic red paint on hand at the moment. Everything else, I think I'm going to try and add in myself. The other thing I want to do with this kit is, instead of just leaving the plastic color as it is, I want to add some visual highlights. So I know that everything that Optimus usually has that's supposed to be sort of chromed out in appearance, I want to do. So that's the smokestacks here, the rims, and these, I believe these are gas canisters, tank canisters. I want to give those more of a silver feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take silver paint and paint those sections up separately. The other thing I'm going to paint are all the sort of inner jointage, these gunmetal bits, including the weapons. I'm going to give them all a quick spray of gunmetal and go from there. So that's what I'm going to do mainly with the paint. So I'll go ahead and and I'll probably just take these off and do them all separately, and I'll go ahead and do that right now. All right, so I've got all the pieces that I want to do silver here all more or less set up and ready to go. I'm going to be using an aerosol spray by Tamiya, and this is TS30 Silver Leaf. It's generally my go-to silver when I'm doing silver pieces, and because of these parts, you know, I've set it up basically so that I can use a minimal amount of paint. You know, I don't need to paint all around these pieces. A lot of the stuff only is going to be seen from one angle, so that's the only side I'm going to be painting. All right, so I've just given it a very quick spray, and as you can tell, it's already the silver that I'm looking for. I don't think I need to go any more beyond this. It's looking good. Next up are these pieces, and I'll be using, if you've been following this channel for a while, my favorite paint, and that is Gunmetal in a Can Tamiya TS38. This stuff is, I go through many cans of this stuff. I should probably just buy an airbrush with just this color because I have wasted that much money on it. So, gonna give this a quick spray, and we will go from there. All right, so it's starting to look pretty shiny. Now, I'll probably have to flip over the axe as well as the gun in order to get all the sides covered. And you're probably asking yourself, what am I going to do about these pieces, these jointed pieces, because they will be exposed or they're hard to completely cover up. And the truth is, I'm just going to leave it. At the end of the day, I'm only going to do about 95% of what I need to be painted. I'm not a perfectionist in that regard. I just do enough to satisfy my own needs. Now, while those pieces are drying, I'm going to go ahead and start to work on the finer details of this kit. And for this, I'm going to refer back to the sticker sheet, because I know that a lot of these stickers correspond with details that I could paint in. One of the smaller ones is this little piece here, and I know that it means that the forehead crest here should be a silver. I could use the sticker, but honestly, like any modeler will tell you, painting always ends up looking better. Now, I like to take the easy way out, so I'm going to use a silver Gundam marker. And for this, all you gotta do, open it up. Now, I could just paint right on it, but instead I've created a pool here, and this is just me blotting the marker, creating a little bit of paint. You could do this in a little tray if it's easier for you. Take a paintbrush, dip it in, and then just start going ahead. I'm not gonna lie, this is very tricky to do on camera. You can tell that I'm not the most accurate, but that's more or less silver inside of the crest. Okay, you'll notice that I wasn't super accurate and I left a little bit of paint, or I have a little bit of mistake right just at the bottom of the crest. So to get rid of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a toothpick, very simple toothpick, and the reason I'm using a toothpick is because it's wood, so it won't scratch the plastic. I'm just going to go up against it and just start rubbing it off. And you can tell right there, it's slowly going away. All right, so I've gone around all the edges properly, and there you go. It has been cleaned off and it looks a little better. Gonna finish up the rest of the details and go on. I've more or less got this Optimus painted with all the details I wanted. I had more silver on the face. I used gold for the lights. In here, I also used gold, but then I ended up using the red sticker and just shoved it in there. I still gotta clean up a little bit of the gold paint that's around. Silver again on the shoulders, and then we have a light coating of gunmetal just on the sides. Now, if it looks sloppy around the edges, I purposely sort of left it like that because I do have a plan ahead of this that really will mask all that, but we'll get there when we get there. Right now, we're going to move on to panel lining. Now, there's many options in panel lining, but I'm going to use this, and this is a Gundam marker again. Now, this is, I think it's called like the slushing or the porous type, and essentially all I'm going to do is I'm going to find these divots here, and I'm just going to dab away. And more or less that should fill it in. You can wipe it up afterwards. This stuff is pretty easy to get rid of. Little holes, marks, and whatnot. Now, you can go as crazy as you want with panel lining, but for me, I'm just going to do the really obvious ones on the lighter plastics because, again, I have another paint scheme I'm going to do after this, which I don't want to be too cluttered with my panel lining or too busy, so I'm just going to leave it on the more obvious sections. Alright, panel lining is mostly done. I mean, I could probably fix this stuff up, but for now, I'll just show you what I'm going to do next, because this is where the magic really happens. Now that I've got all the details in and that I've wanted to do, I'm going to show you the next part. And for this, I'm going to break it down piece by piece because it's a lot easier that way. I'm going to take a black Gundam marker, very black Gundam marker, and I'm going to deliberately outline the entire piece. So basically, just take this, run it across the edge. And when you more or less cover the piece, that's what it looks like. Now, as you can tell, I haven't been very precise or particular, but that's okay because, again, that's sort of the look I go for. Not necessarily perfection, just enough to look like some work's been put into it, like there's a bit of a wear and tear going on. That's what I like. And from here on, I'm going to do every single piece in this outline style. Okay, so I'm at the point now where I've more or less painted everything I wanted to paint. I've outlined all the pieces that I've wanted to outline. And as you can tell, it's not the cleanest work. You know, there's a lot of just inconsistencies and not necessarily straight lines, but that's sort of the look I'm going for, right? I want that sort of like roughed up, half-sketched look, but it's not done here because the real magic is the next step, and that is by spraying all of this stuff with a light misting of a matte coat. Now, you can use whatever you want. I'm using today Tester's dull coat, and the only reason I'm using this is because it's the cheapest one at my hobby shop. I could get the Tamiya one, but there's like a $2 to $3 premium on that. And with the amount of stuff of this I go through, it's just easier to get the cheap stuff. And I'm not using it for like a very thick spray. I just need to create a matte finish for the final step in this project. All right, so that is the matte coat sprayed down. And as you can tell, I don't know if the camera's picking it up too well, but there is a matte finish there. Now, the actual finish, the aesthetic of it, that's not what I'm really here for. What I want is this rough surface so that I can apply something else onto it, so that something will stick. And what I'm going to apply is this right here. This is Tamiya's Weathering Master Set. And this is more like a powder that you just rub onto plastic. But the thing is, it only rubs onto plastic with a very rough surface, hence the matte top coat. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread it on. And what I like to use a lot of is, these are great. These, I believe, are little makeup applicators that you can get anywhere. I got these ones at Sephora, and they're pretty inexpensive. You can probably find them at the dollar store. If you can't find Tamiya Weathering Master, what you can do, and this is probably the most budget trick, is you go to the dollar store and you buy makeup. And the best thing about makeup is that it comes in more colors than just these mechanical-based ones, or like robot, mechanics, car-based colors. So if you wanted pink or purple, makeup comes in all sorts of colors, and that's probably the best thing you could do. Just look for some eyeshadow or powder based. I think it's blush, whatever. And that's all you really need to do. Now, because this is powder based, it does get messy. That's why I am wearing plastic gloves. I usually don't, but for the purposes of this video, I am going to wear the gloves. And it's very simple. I'm going to show you what I do. So we're just going to zoom in here. And I take this, I take a little bit, just enough so that there's some on the tip there. And everything that I've lined in black, everything that I spent longer than I care to admit outlining, I'm going to go in lightly with this so that we have a nice, softer edge. And you can already see the look it's going to give. So the black outlining is there to frame the shape, to give it the shape, but this weathering is here to sort of just make it all blend in together. That's what more or less the finished outcome looks like. Now, this is one piece. I've got to go through and do every single piece. For the purposes of this kit, I'm going to use just the gunmetal. Sometimes I'll switch up the colors depending on the plastics, but I want it to have more of a uniform, simplified look, so I'm going to use gunmetal on top of the black marker. Okay, so I finished up one leg just so you can get an idea of what I'm going for. And this is more or less what the kit's gonna look like when I'm done with it all. I'll admit on the blue, because the blue is so dark, it is not quite what I had in mind. I was hoping it was gonna be a little bit more pronounced. In hindsight, I probably should have given it a much darker black outlining. But on the light gray, it's definitely what I want. That's what I'm definitely going for. Very high contrast, bold sort of statement. And I have a feeling that on the red plastic, it'll look just as good as on the gray. So I'm gonna finish up the rest of the kit and I will show you the final product. And there you have it, the completed Flame Toys Optimus Prime model kit. And overall, I'm pretty happy with the final result. I think a lot of the additions I put in really went a long way into emphasizing the look. I really do love the sharp, angular edges of the kit, and it really is very much emphasized by the harsher black outlining. I definitely went for a more cel-shaded look, and if you've ever played the game Borderlands, that's kind of the look that I tend to go for. So I think it's pretty close to that. The only thing I would say is the blue plastic, I probably could have been just a bit more deliberate in how I ended up shading it. To be honest, it's not quite as harsh or contrasting as I would have liked to have been, but it's still visible enough to complete the look. The silver highlights and gunmetal insides of the body, I think they do well to add to the figure, but they probably didn't need to be there. In fact, if I just gave them a matte finish, it probably would have helped with the whole 2D appearance. The one thing I do regret, and I really do regret this, is not getting some metallic red paint. I think using the sticker for the axe was a mistake. It's not my favorite thing in the world, and I can already envision this looking 1,000 times better with some real red metallic paint. Otherwise, I think this kit is pretty cool. I have used this technique before, and long-time subscribers, you will have seen this on the 1/100 scale Gundam Bale, and more recently, the Build Fighters or Build Divers GM. This is the exact same technique I used. I just, maybe had a little more detail in some, and I pulled back in some other spots that you could probably clearly pick out. But if this is something you'd like to try out and achieve, then by all means, go for it. So there you have it, the Flame Toys Optimus Prime model kit. Pretty cool kit, I have to admit, and I really am pleased with how it turned out. A couple things that I should probably go over because I don't think I mentioned them earlier on. The entire build did take me about 4 hours to do from start to finish, and I did it over the course of a weekend, hence the outfit change. And it was pretty straightforward. The actual build itself wasn't too complex. The instructions could have been better, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the use of stickers on this kit and the fact that they were pretty hard to figure out. In terms of how this model kit, or I guess Flame Toys as a whole, compared to Bandai in terms of value for money and the kind of quality they're putting out, I have to say I'm a bit conflicted. At the end of the day, this is a 6-inch tall action figure, and that puts it directly in line with a Gundam high grade. Thing is, this is priced a little bit more than your standard high grade. It's closer to that of a real grade, maybe even a small master grade. So in terms of value for money, it's really tough to say that you should pick this up as a straight good value. I'm also a little conflicted as to, I don't know who this is aimed for, because every Transformers fan I know wants their Transformers to transform. Personally, I don't need that kind of stuff. I just like a really cool design, and that's what they've offered me here, so I'm really into it, but I don't know about the whole mass appeal of model kit Transformers. Regardless, this is a very cool little Optimus, and if you like the design and you want to build something that's not a Gundam or a Gundam girl or whatever, or an airplane or tank, check it out. It's pretty cool, and hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Again, if you have any more questions or you want some further detail or advice on how I built this, sound off in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer any concerns you guys bring about. Okay, until the next build, I'll see you next time.